Hello everyone, and this is my review for WWE Monday Night Raw on April 29th, 2013. And just to start off everything, I thought this week's Raw was actually a very good show. You had some decent storyline build up with a few of the matches leading into, which will more likely lead into Extreme Rules. You also had some really good matches on the show. Just to name off pretty much the ones I thought were really good. Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton was a really good match. Dolph Ziggler and Kofi Kingston was a really good match. Surprisingly enough, Jack Swagger and Zack Ryder was also a really good match on the show. They did a really good job in there. And same with Alberto Del Rio and Antonio Cesaro. Now, granted, most of those really good matches was with the triple threat match for the World Heavyweight title going into Extreme Rules. They did something with that right at the beginning of the show, which wasn't really much of anything outside of it was another triple threat match with Big E Langston, Zeb Coulter, and Ricardo Rodriguez. Basically, the winner gets their person's it gives their person the choice of like what type of match it was going to be for the triple threat match at Extreme Rules. And obviously there was tons of outside interference with AJ, Dolph, Jack Swagger, Alberto Del Rio, which led to Ricardo Rodriguez rolling up Zeb Coulter to get the win. Later on in the show, after the match with Antonio Cesaro, Alberto Del Rio made it a ladder match. Obviously, this is probably the most probably the easiest route for them to go in the terms of making a special type of stipulation match going into the pay-per-view. You can't really do too much more with a triple threat match outside of making it inside of a ladder or inside of a cage of some kind in any way, shape, or form. So they went with a ladder match here. Should be a really good match considering all of them have worked really good ladder matches in the past, so that should be a lot of fun to watch as well. You also had a interesting moment with the Sheamus and Mark Henry storyline. You had Mark Henry going out there trying to prove he was the world's strongest man and everything by doing a tug of war with Tensai and then Brutus Clay, and then obviously obviously Sheamus came out and challenged him to the tug of war, which of course we all know Sheamus really wouldn't win that type of thing. So they did the whole aspect of embarrassing Mark Henry by Sheamus just letting him go. Mark Henry falls down and then gets bro kicked. Honestly, that wasn't too terribly bad. It was a nice little fun snippet that they did going into whatever program they're going to do with Mark Henry and Sheamus at this point in time. Nothing too special about it, but it's just something a little bit entertaining, a little bit funny. Also, it gives Mark Henry more of a reason to be mad at Sheamus. So that was a nice little build towards the story of that matchup as well. To go off of what they, just to go off on what they don't, something that's not storyline based. I actually liked what they did with the Make-A-Wish. The Make-A-Wish Foundation deal earlier in the show. You had John Cena bring out the three Make-A-Wish kids that they were having for the show that night, and of course it was the it was a World Wish Day, so they did something with what they typically do, which they usually leave backstage, and they brought the Make-A-Wish kids out there to introduce them and everything like that. I thought that was a nice little touch by the WWE and by everybody there. That was a really good segment in my mind, just in the terms of showing that that they do a lot of charitable work, all that aspect. So that was really good to see. Which basically brings me to the last point that I wanted to bring up, which was the Shield versus, which was initially the Shield versus Ryback and John Cena in a handicap match, which eventually got changed throughout the show because they were playing up the whole Achilles injury to John Cena from over the weekend. That was they announced that he had an Achilles injury while they're in the European tour and everything on that aspect. So they were playing that angle up while doing that. So they take John Cena out of the match. They put in Team Hell No because they interrupted the 3MB Shield like brawl probably right in the middle of the show during the Shield promo, and then they made that then they made essentially a six-man tag at that point in time. Ryback decides to walk out of the match, and they put John Cena back in, which, of course, you have Team Hell No during the entire match, and which is also not a really good match, but a pretty good match this time around, because they were playing up the storylines pretty much. You had Team Hell No just making the tags, leaving John Cena out, because obviously they're going to limit what he can do if he's actually injured at this point in time. So they definitely did some nice little touches into there, making sure like Cena wasn't in the match, and of course right at the end of the match you had Cena have to get in because Daniel Bryan was nowhere to be seen, and he goes for the attitude adjustment, the ankle buckles, and of course Shield gets a victory out of that on that aspect. Again, good that they're still putting over the Shield in all of their six-man type tag matches. It's really good to see them building as the group. Obviously, they're going to be going against Team Hell No at some point in time for the tag titles. Also, it was a nice little added touch to have Ryback come back onto the stage after the match, with Cena injured there. Basically to play the storylines like, hey, I goaded you into this match. I goaded you into getting yourself injured again. There you go. And I'm trying to gain every type of advantage going into the match at Extreme Rules. I like where they're going with Ryback as a heel at this point. They've been doing a really good job with it. I hope they can keep it up with Ryback after he's done with the Cena program, or if he even gets the WWE title at that aspect. So we'll see where they end up going with that. So overall, I felt it was a really good show this week. Obviously, you had a bunch of really good matches on the show. And you had some decent storyline build up in there, and a couple of little throwaway segments in my mind. The Fandango segment with Great Khali was a bit of a throwaway. Another little, what most people would consider a throwaway, but wasn't really too bad, was the AJ and Caitlyn backstage segment after the Dolph Ziggler match, and making it look like Caitlyn has some kind of secret admirer. That was an okay segment, but nothing too special there. But other than those two, nothing really too bad on the show. I thought it was a really good show this week, and that's my review for Monday Night Raw this week. I thank you guys for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.